Alright guys, I'm gonna show you one of the reasons we hate this house.
There's a YouTuber named Not Your Average Wife who apparently does not live in your average home either. Her dog Catherine absolutely refuses to go down the steps leading to their basement. Follow the dog's eyes because I think it might be seeing something down there that none of us can.
Catherine! Come on, baby! Come on, pretty! Come on, baby!
Not even a nudge from behind can convince Catherine to go down the stairs.
Come on, Catherine!
And just to prove it's not a general fear of steps, they show her using different stairs without a problem. Maybe the dog almost fell down basement steps or something and is now afraid of them. At least, that's the only non-paranormal explanation I can think of. And if it is paranormal, based on how Catherine is acting, it must be something sinister in that basement. This next video shows that even a zip line is in perfect condition. With flawless equipment is never truly safe. Sometimes things just go wrong. A giant gator pops up to try and snag this instructor out of the air. There is a decent amount of space between the two, but I'm sure it was plenty close enough if you asked her, and she definitely knows what waits for her should she ever make a future mistake and fall in. So I guess the final and most important lesson of ziplining over water is to always keep your legs up, because you never know what's lurking below the surface waiting to take a chomp. It's every urban explorer's worst nightmare. YouTuber Exploring with Danny apparently uncovered 4 bodies while exploring this abandoned place. His dog came across them first.
Diesel! Diesel, what are you doing, boy?
After entering, Danny realizes he's happened upon a grim scene.
Oh my. Hello?
I want to think it's fake, but Danny's reaction seems all too real.
Diesel, come on. Diesel. Come on, Diesel. Come on, boy. We need to the police, Diesel.
Joe Pacini is obsessed with a singer named Sarah Bareilles, and he believes their destiny is to be together forever. He makes a bizarre YouTube video ranting about how members of the occult, the CIA, and the FBI are all working together to frame him and keep this romance from happening.
Clearly these guys want me dead. We're in prison, and there's no way I'm going back to prison. Nope.
The video is hard to understand because of his disjointed, rambling logic, but apparently there was some kind of incident at the local gym, and now a police detective is calling Joe's number.
Hello, my name is Matt Huffnell. I'm a detective with Haverford Township PD. I'm trying to reach Joe Pacini concerning an incident report that was made at the LA Fitness here in Havertown. Joe, could you give me a call at your earliest convenience?
This simple request sends Joe over the edge. Instead of calling the investigator back, Joe makes a series of YouTube videos threatening the investigator along with his entire department.
You want to try to bring me down? I will kill you and your whole family, alright? So go ahead.
Joe switches from calm and collected to yelling and screaming as he tells everyone to back off. He eventually calls the detective back and leaves a message telling him to check out his YouTube channel for more information. The police eventually find Joe driving around and immediately pull his vehicle over. According to their report, Joe backed his car into a cruiser and they took his life immediately. I was never able to find out what happened at the gym. So if you know why the police initially contacted him, then please let me know. Beware of the shadows. When at Donovan Mill, the historic mining site in Silver City, Nevada, has a reputation, and it's not a good one. At least one documented incident of someone taking their own life has been recorded there. Perhaps it's the spirit from this unfortunate history that lingers in the mill. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit, Facts by James TV writes, at 24 minutes 30 seconds you could see a shadow-like figure down the hallway. At the very same space it is known to be haunted by a spirit named John. that is very protective about that area. At the timestamp in question, you can see what James is talking about. He said he felt a presence, so they stopped and shined the flashlight down at the end of the hall. A small shadow figure appears there. Casting light down that way doesn't make it disappear. What do you think about this creepy catch? Would you have the guts to venture down the hall to investigate? A YouTuber named Shadow the Wolf is with his friend when they see a complete stranger walking up to them without saying a word.
Oh my god. He's coming closer. Oh my god, shut the window.
They quickly run upstairs and lock the door as the silent figure moves closer. I have little doubt that this video is real, because they are just some kids and this is clearly a full-grown man. They realize he is trying to get in through the garage and quickly lock the basement door. I'm not sure if this is some random person or a fan, but with over 19,000 subscribers, I think it's possible that this could have been one of them. YouTuber Om Vlogs stayed in this haunted hotel for 24 hours and they didn't get a wink of sleep. It all began with the closest doors.
जाता हूँ ये गेट ना अभी खुला प्रियांक प्रियांक उठ एक बार उठ ना उठ ये देखो ये अबे ये देख सामने देख गेट ये देख
They slam closed but then open again. They open wide enough to reveal that there's no one inside.
क्या करें जाके देखो देख अभी मूवमेंट है देख मूवमेंट है ये भी पूरा खुल गया देख
Later, they believe something is in the bathroom. Watch for the shadow in the corner. While the YouTuber thinks that this is a shadow person, I think it could belong to him. Watch it again. Could it just be the way this light falls in the bathroom? Share your opinion in the comments. An outdoor restaurant is about to be creepy, and it's all caught on CCTV tape. This top right couple seems to be having an intense conversation. At 10 seconds, there's some chest pounding on both sides. It looks like a bad breakup or something until 25 seconds when he stands up and is ready to storm out, but then points at the food lodged in his throat. They weren't having an argument at all. He was slowly becoming more and more unable to breathe. She starts patting him on the back, but apparently this is a big mistake. I am not giving any medical advice, but the Mayo Clinic says not to do this unless you're trained to deliver a special back blow between the shoulder blades. From what I've read, patting someone on the back can sometimes make the food move further down the windpipe and get even more stuck. A brave restaurant worker gets behind him, makes a fist with one hand slightly above the belly button, grabs his fist and gives a quick upward thrust as if picking him off the ground for a moment. This is called the Heimlich maneuver, and it's a good thing somebody in the restaurant knew it. Most states have laws in place for restaurant staff to have this kind of training, and this scary scenario caught on tape is exactly why. I encourage everyone to get the proper training because you never know when this could happen to someone nearby, maybe even you. There must be no scarier feeling than having an entire crowd watch you helplessly while you can't breathe. This man who helped him is truly a hero. This alleged ghost video was taken on the second floor of a college, but I think it might simply be a chair getting pulled by string. Still, do you see anything here when zoomed in? I can't say I do. While investigating an old schoolhouse, this group's trail camera caught this unexplained happening. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit, Key Consequence 7618 explains what we're looking at here. We had come from the first classroom walking towards the second classroom. This is a light in the doorway on the left, just as the board jumps up. The board that he's talking about is a piece of plywood plywood set in a doorway. It shudders long after they've entered the room, so it can't be a reverberation of the crew having walked on it. Further, as the Redditor said, a strange light appears in the window of the door, as if someone that was standing there left at that very moment. Although the Redditor says he and another member of his crew were the only two people in the house, it looks like they weren't alone. This eerie video has me doing a double take, published by Spote You Like in April of 2008. This scary clip is filmed outside the stunning York Minster. The bells are ringing and the cameraman is taking it all in. He scans the cathedral and then starts walking toward it. A shot later, he is continuing on his way down a narrow shop lane. While the bells continue to sound, shops line either side of the street. But watch what happens in the upper window to the left. The cameraman zooms in on the ghostly pale face of a small child looking out the window. The child's eyes are dark and inky, and its face mask-like. As the camera zooms, the child disappears. The uploader notes that the house is called the Belfry and was built in the 17th century. Some in the comments claim to have stayed there and say that it has seriously spooky vibes. Is this the thing putting out those vibes? I'd say it's a pretty good chance. Watch your brains, there's a zombie on the loose. Published by Mr. Illusion in February of 2022, this YouTuber captured what he thinks is a zombie on camera. Dressed all in black, the figure lurches through the high grass. On closer inspection, he appears to be missing his cranium. Despite this, the crew follows this creepy figure, who also looks to be carrying a tool or small hatchet in his hand. He weaves through the woods, off on a mission to do what? I'm not quite sure. Is this a zombie? Or something out of the mind of Ichabod Crane? A Facebook user in Tlalnepantla, Mexico is walking down the street when he discovers a missing section of a wall and takes a look inside. The hollow dungeon-like area is filled with what appears to be stacks of caskets. Whether the caskets were filled or not is anyone's guess. But the point is, why would this area be sealed away underneath a highway overpass? Also, why was this section of wall broken? Maybe it broke from the inside by someone trying to free themselves. Who knows what other secrets could be hidden under there? A Facebook user in Tlalnepantla, Mexico is walking down the street when he discovers a missing section of a wall and takes a look inside. The hollow dungeon-like area is filled with what appears to be stacks of caskets. Whether the caskets were filled or not is anyone's guess. But the point is, why would this area be sealed away underneath a highway overpass? Also, why was this section of wall broken? Maybe it broke from the inside by someone trying to free themselves. Who knows what other secrets could be hidden under there? A YouTuber named High Gear and his friend are riding dirt bikes in the Russian woods when one of them almost gets their head taken clean off. His friend ducks just in time to avoid a steel cable that's been stretched tightly between two trees. The tripwire would have done some serious damage if he hadn't moved out of the way. They think it's a trap set by some psycho lurking in the forest. You can hear the anger and disgust in his voice as he talks about what they should do next. He even talks about hiding in the woods for a while and getting revenge on whoever returns to the spot. Ultimately, they decide to simply disarm the trap and take the wire cable with them. If this video is real, then whoever set this trap must still be out there waiting for their next chance, so I hope High Gear and his friends stay safe out there. This man is all bundled up, and yet what's being reflected in his sunglasses leaves him shuddering. A bony face follows him no matter where he turns, its gaping mouth crying out without a word. The reflection of his arm does go in front of the face at 30 seconds, so maybe it's the way something's hung on his wall. I wish he would have flipped the camera to show what was in front of him, then maybe we would know if anything on the wall was making that creepy face or not. A YouTuber who goes by the one and only Spud Bud has been hearing scary noises outside of his house every night, strange and mysterious sounds coming from the sky. It always seems to happen between 4 and 5 in the morning when it's still dark outside. Listen to this and tell me what you would do if you were woken up by this noise. It's hard to tell if the sky sounds are coming from an animal or a machine, or perhaps even some living mixture of both. Whatever it is, it sounds tremendously large and about to crush his house. On Thursday, after 4 days of scary noises, the one and only Spud records the creepiest video of all. This is when it sounds less mechanical and more like a creature, but tell me what you think it is. A low rumble pierces the sky with enough force to make the floorboards of his house creak. One thing that makes me think this is real is how he never leaves his home to go outside. Instead, he paces around his house nervously hoping that the sound will go away. And it looks like a realistic reaction. Well, most people believe this is real. One person said they analyzed the clip and found it was edited. They said they would link the sound file but never did, so their claims have not been supported. Let me know if you have ever heard this noise from any movies or other popular media. Maybe together we can figure this one out. Warning to young explorers, don't enter abandoned malls at night. Jaskin Ho published this footage in September of 2018, illustrating exactly why. Explaining that the mall in question is Charlestown Outlet Mall in the US, he writes, "This is an older video I thought I'd drop for you guys. The mall closed for good over 30 years ago, and I did record a video here before, but there was talk about the basement level, so we went in. While the first 9 minutes reveal your typical exploring of the abandoned mall, 9 minutes in, one of the crew peers into a dark room beyond, and that's when he hightails it out of there, followed closely by the rest. One of the bunch says they were running for nearly 5 minutes. According to the one who first ran, he saw someone in the room beyond. Although the video didn't capture the figure, we can only imagine what this group came across. And with that in mind, I think they made the right choice getting out of there ASAP. This isn't a gentle good morning. Published to YouTube by C4CAT in March of 2018. This is what happens when an early bird of a ghost is angry that you're not up yet. The video shows a man asleep in bed as window curtains nearly blow, at times pushing the entire curtain to the side. The young man at first remains undisturbed by this. At one point when the curtain is brushed over, you can see something white appear behind the bars of the window. Then an obscure flash of white passes close to the camera. Shortly after, there's a slow disturbance in the man's blanket. Part of it lifts until the entire blanket billows up. It's then ripped off of him by an unseen force. Like a bucket of cold water, this is one alarm clock you wouldn't want to wake up to. Here's a freaky sighting. Imagine you're playing guitar with your friends when something decides to pay a visit. Published by Navigon in November of 2007. This creepy video shows some dudes practicing in a bedroom. One is playing the guitar, the other is singing, and the third is recording the session. But as it turns out, there's a fourth uninvited guest nearby. As they continue to play, the friend filming the session takes a broader shot of the singer, and towering in the doorway behind him is a seemingly tall man, standing sentry and staring into the room. In the comments of this video, David F.E. writes, It's a humanoid being about 7 feet tall, not a ghost. Many people have reported them before. Whatever the case, in the moment, the friend filming doesn't spot the humanoid. The three continue their session without any reaction, and the next time the cameraman pans over, the figure is gone. They must have spotted the humanoid later in the playback, a humanoid that was so close he could have touched them. What would you do if you saw this over your friend's shoulder? YouTuber John the Paranormal Guy ranked the top 5 most haunted locations he's investigated in 2021. Among them was the Springville Plantation House in Alabama. Here's what they encountered there. Listen closely.
No. Was that you?
Hey, can you come down?
The unexplained scream sent chills down my spine. Listen again.
With us?
What was that? I can definitely hear a scream in the background, but it's not clear where it's coming from. Is it human or paranormal? I think we'd have to dig deeper to find out. This video comes from a creepy YouTube channel ominously called I Know Where She Is, whatever that's supposed to mean. Anyway, whoever's filming seems to be at some old abandoned house that's covered in years worth of trash. A loud generator blocks out all sound. They turn around as if startled and shine their flashlight on the doorway, but they don't see anything. Neither did I the first time. Look again though, and you'll see the fleeing shadow of someone retreating from the doorway. Overall, it's hard to tell if this was a phantom figure or just the angle of the flashlight playing tricks across the wall. Isaiah Harris published his sewer exploration in March of 2018. Describing it as the utter most scariest video that I've ever recorded yet. He went on to say, I think it was mostly because of the position I was in and how much ghostly things I heard and seen. The first clip shows Harris along with 2 young accomplices exploring the underground sewer during the daytime. They make their way along a tunnel to an area with pooled water, which has frozen over with ice. In a second video of the sewer exploration, Harris, joined this time by his brother and sister-in-law, shows how they entered the sewer by lifting up a big iron storm grate and crawling under. The tunnel is filled with graffiti, and they jump down from this initial tunnel to a broader area. A ladder is also positioned there, suggesting that this area is a regular stomping ground for exploration. They continue on, and Harris explains to his crew that there will soon be a ditch with shin-deep water, and there may be a den beyond, as he found evidence of people living there once before. The ditch area is filled with ice and a layer of snow over top. Harris jumps down, breaking through the ice. The other 2 decide to turn back because they think they've heard something in the tunnel, but that's when Harris looks deep into the tunnel beyond and decides that he too wants to hightail it out of there. After he claims to have seen something down there, they start to make their way back, but pause when they hear a growling sound. Harris also notes that there's a handprint on the wall. As they arrive at the exit ladder, they also hear tapping sounds coming from within the tunnel. They manage to make it out of the tunnel without incident, but one does wonder whether the creature within was human or monster. Powerful Pancake is the name of a YouTuber who decides to ring his neighbor's doorbell and then run away. He hides around the side of the house just in time, but his friend behind the trash can is not so lucky. Powerful Pancake doubles back to grab his camera and the chase is on. As you can see here, the neighbor comes charging down the driveway with the bat over his head, ready for who knows what. They barely make it to their car in time and speed off. I think this video is probably real because they seem to actually be full of adrenaline, and that is not easy to fake, but I'd like to get your opinion. Number 10. 2 YouTubers see a suspicious red balloon tied around the grate of an old sewer tunnel and start to explore. It isn't long before their flashlight shines upon someone standing rigidly before them.
No freaking.
No! Go!
The sewer lurker chases them down the entire length of the tunnel at full speed, and they barely make it out alive. Listen to this part and tell me if you think the fear in their voices sounds real, because it does to me.
Oh, frick, go. Get out. Get out.
I hit my head.
Who or what that was remains a mystery. There's been no update made since this video was uploaded. Sophie Dosey is a talented contortionist with a twisted sense of humor, so to speak. Here she does a crab walk backwards at top speeds with her head barely hanging above the floor. This is a really creative, ingenious way to scare people that I've never seen done before, but I can't help but think it's a little dangerous too. I mean, if she steps on her hair while walking like this, her neck could snap all the way back. Maybe I'm just exaggerating, but I think I see it almost happen multiple times as she races down the aisle, which adds a whole new level of fear to the overall situation. The power goes out and a man must go into the basement to find the circuit breaker. There's only one problem.
This is where I heard the booming at night.
Once he gets downstairs, his beam is swallowed in the darkness, and while fumbling around, he barely catches a glimpse of a pale face down there with him. And by the time he gets the flashlight to work again, it's already too late. Whatever this is a face of, ghost or otherwise, I doubt it's a mask because at 50 seconds you can see its mouth open and its smile fade away as it lunges forward. It doesn't grab him and he is able to get away, so if this is real, then it could be one of the highest resolution ghost sightings ever caught on camera to date. A crowd gathers to sing in front of a statue. After a while, her mouth begins to move as she mouths the words of the song with them. Over 100 people agree that they can clearly see the statue blink and sing with joy. I would have liked to have seen this happen with a high-resolution camera. Until then, I think that this was probably just video grain, creating the appearance of movement. After a mission to an old haunted railway tunnel, Crypto Girl 13 spied something mysterious in her footage while editing. Published in August of 2013, the Crypto Girl and her friend are navigating through the forest and mud to the mouth of the tunnel. After wading through obstacles of sludge and climbing over large branches, they arrive at the entrance. Zooming into the deep darkness, the video starts glitching out as she talks about the story of a monster living in the tunnel.
Old story that some kind of creature, take the camera. There's some kind of creature that...
Getting closer to the entrance, they hear some creepy noises inside.
What the f*** that?
But it was upon editing the footage that they spotted these two glowing red orbs, which they believe to be eyes of the legendary monster. Were they closer to the cryptid than they ever imagined? Or is there something else inhabiting this old railway tunnel? Since it's been almost 10 years, I don't know if this mystery will ever be solved. I've analyzed some of Lainey and Ben's footage in previous videos, and I'm completely convinced that their home is 100% haunted. Here's yet another video to prove it. Published in November of 2021, the couple is attempting to use an EMF meter to talk to a spirit named Dave, who hangs around their home. Well, usually you'd expect for the meter to go off. That's apparently not the way Dave communicates. Instead, as the couple encourages Dave to communicate with them, setting the meter upright on the table in front of them, the meter is knocked over, causing them both to jump in shock. You might assume that it just fell over, but when you look closely, it certainly appears as though it was thrown down by a malevolent force. Something tells me Dave is the strong, silent type. Posted to the oddly terrifying subreddit by I'm a Scared Child, this is how baby bed bugs react to human body heat. An old wooden chair is sitting in the middle of the room. This person gets down beside it and places their finger near a crack in the wood. Immediately, dozens of bed bugs stick their little heads out of the crack. attracted to the heat coming from this human finger. The sight of this is honestly horrific. Many in the comments share their own horror stories about dealing with these vile insects. Some advise using diatomaceous earth on them, or even baking soda. But Redditor B-Cross sums our collective horror up, writing, "It's hard to put into word how evil these things are." I absolutely agree with that sentiment. You are probably asking yourself what could possibly be scary about ice. Well, it's not so much about ice itself, but rather what's growing around the area that forms the cubes and pushes them out. A thick layer of yellow filth has taken over this restaurant ice machine, which is somehow still in service and making ice for customers. I'm not even sure what this specific part of the machine is used for, but I know I regret watching it. The yellow substance has crusted into black mold along the corners. Again, I honestly can't believe this video was recorded in a restaurant that was still open. And that's just what this ice machine looks like on the outside. What's growing inside is even worse. Take a look at this and tell me if you would want this floating anywhere near your cold drink. You'd think the cubes would be absolutely disgusting and easy to spot, but look at this ice. You'd never realize there was much of a problem, or where it really came from. Hurricane Irma was a Category 5 hurricane that lasted from late August until mid-September in 2017, with hurricane winds of up to 180 miles per hour. Irma devastated several areas, including the eastern United States, Puerto Rico, Cuba, the Bahamas, the Caribbean islands. Caught on tape and published by Tom Steers on September 15, 2017. The clip shows a downpour of rain and heavy winds over a swimming pool, assumedly on the coast of one of the affected areas. A man in black swimming trunks launches out into the wind and rain with a GoPro in his hand to hop into the hotel swimming pool. The water in the pool is heaving, not to the degree of the Nepali earthquake, but enough to where you certainly wouldn't want to test nature at its angriest.
I think the Canadians were watching this happen and the Americans were running out.
What's this idiot? Did he have a his hand?
Yeah.
No, he had a GoPro in his hand. Oh,
yeah.
God! I wish I could zoom this in. I can a little bit. But...
After a quick dip, however, the man pops back out unharmed. Another thrill seeker who could have wound up injured or worse from his thrill seeking. This scary Reddit video was posted by a user named Naval Court, who says he caught a spirit giving his friend's child a hard time while it's trying to rest. First, the child stands up as if he sees somebody enter, or maybe he's even called over. He slowly looks up at something much taller than him, and as soon as he lays his eyes upon it, he falls with force. He sits off and shakes it off, and then something flies by overhead. He even looks over his shoulder and sees it. Some people think the kid is just acting silly, as children tend to do, and maybe even shaking his head to try and stay awake, but I agree with Naval Court that this is weird and could be a ghost like he thought. It's 2008 and two friends record themselves playing video games because they're bored and live streaming doesn't exist yet. As they're getting frustrated at Mario and talk trash on each other's skills, they both fail to see a ghostly watcher at the window. At 43 seconds, a pale blue face appears and then fades away. It could be a ghost in the window like they claim, but I think more realistically, it was probably a reflection of one of their friends in the same room as them. It kind of looks like one of their friends is shining a flashlight up at their face to give a spooky effect. Even though this video has been freaking people out for over 12 years now, I think it's most likely staged. When Alexandra went exploring an abandoned schoolhouse in Ukraine, she never expected to go viral.
Что за запах? О, смотри, вон какая штука лежит.
On the first floor is a discarded tracksuit outside of a hole in the floor that looks like it could serve as the final resting place for many.
А вот это было разве?
Нет, это не было открыто. Здесь все было закрыто. Здесь ровно пол.
Там какой-то проход дальше, что ли. Ого, он как долго тянется вообще, посмотри.
Да, я вижу.
Он прям уходит вообще.
They also find a green barrel that's full of an unknown chemical. They can't read the faded label, but maybe a subscriber in Russia will know more about this.
Да, вот бочонок. По идее, не знаю, что тут написано, невозможно прочитать сейчас.
It could be acid. I've heard of people dissolving the past away in barrels full of acid just like this one. Across from a green barrel are footprints, and across from the footprints are pictures of people.
Ладно, пойдем на второй этаж тогда.
Да, ребят.
Это ты?
Есть кто?
Alexandra pauses at the stairs.
Мы с миром пришли, господи. Не надо нас пугать. На приколе, что ли, блядь?
Может, пойдем? Пока.
I think this video is 100% real because Alexandra does this thing some people do when they're really scared, where they talk to themselves out loud to keep from completely breaking down.
Так быстро выходим отсюда, это просто великолепно, потому что я сейчас реально насру себе в штаны и все, на этом все закончится. А вот вон мой великолепный, прекрасный выход.
With that said, I'm not sure this video is paranormal. The noise could be someone staying here. A scary person who I'm sure you and I would want nothing to do with. A man who countless others likewise wish they had never seen. A weird human-like creature stands motionless when caught on camera in the forest. It's not a person wearing red makeup because the arms are exceptionally thin. It could be a special effects prop. The red figure never moves, so I have trouble believing this creature sighting is real. If I'm wrong, then this video shows why the woods of Indonesia are one of the scariest places in the world. Having this thing stare at you in the forest would be beyond creepy. We've all played Call of Duty, but what's it really like to be on the front line? This first-person footage will give you an idea. The Famous World published this footage in January of 2018. The video, which is 25 minutes long, is filmed from the perspective of the driver of the US Humvee. You can see more vehicles in front and someone outside guiding the driver to position the Humvee as a blockade. The driver tells his commander that the opposing forces are taking fire, which you can hear in the background.
You're looking south, right? Look where guns are firing. Kilo 05, this is truck 5. Can you give us the distance and direction over?
The driver then hops outside and fires in the direction of the opposing forces. Following some back and forth, the driver arms himself and crosses the desert in open view to cover his brothers in arms, one of whom is hurt on the ground. They load the man into one of the Humvees, and then there's a good amount of running back and forth between the barricade and the Humvee. At some point, they load up to head off. It's unclear whether the opposing forces stood down, but what is clear is the scary standoff was handled textbook by these men. Would you take something that turned you into a zombie? Please don't do it because it's a horrible idea. In October of 2017, a number of sightings were reported in Brazil in which humans were behaving monstrously, with some running their heads into windshields and others flailing their arms and screaming nonsense as if they were possessed. This video clip shows what a nightmare this can be. He pounds the windshield as well before taking a running start at it with his head. With his arms outstretched, the boy screams into the ethers, while one guy outside holds an arm out, seemingly trying to calm him. The boy continues to scream in place before trying to smash his way into the bus again. This goes on for several minutes. Whatever this man has taken to be acting this way, just remember, it's never a good idea to do the same. A YouTuber named SE Styles is camping in the woods of Hinton, Canada, when he hears the last thing that anyone wants to hear just outside of their tent. lone wolf's howl pierces through their conversation and renders both SE Styles and his friend silent as night sets in. They soon realize they are vastly outnumbered. If anyone watching this happens to be an animal wildlife expert, I'd like to know if these wolves were howling because they were aware of the human presence nearby, or if this was for some other reason. Perhaps this was a warning to SE Styles not to come any closer. Although I'm sure he and his friend did not need any extra convincing. A man claims that he keeps experiencing paranormal activity in his dining room and nowhere else. He feels unsafe and decides to leave a camera running in the dining room to see what goes on when he's not around. Nothing happens for a while, but then something comes along in the window that looks questionable. This is the zoomed in version. A tiny face appears to peek out at them from the glass panel on the bottom right before darting out of sight. You can't really make out any of its features, but notice how some orbs float by shortly before this happens. It's hard to tell if it's a paranormal creature or just a small animal, but I wouldn't want to be left alone in the house to find out. A YouTuber named Confuseo Mental orders a box off the dark web that he's not so sure about, so he puts on some gloves. The first thing he unfurls is an old scroll with what I think could be ancient Hebrew text, translated if you can. I will admit the paper itself looks like it could be artificially aged, but who knows? Wrapped and locked in a tiny casket with similar text adorning the top. Again, translate if you can, please. Something tells me that this is either a blessing to help guide this tiny soul to the other side, or else a warning telling others not to open it. A warning that's totally ignored as he continues to handle the object. I'm curious about what these numbers across the top with the letter E at the end could mean. I'm sure someone out there is smart enough to figure this all out. He puts a mask on ready for the stench of something rotting, but instead finds this extra creepy demonic doll and look into the center of its eyes at 26 minutes and 13 seconds. They're reflecting light. Now that's certainly creepy. This tunnel in Blue Ash, Ohio is steeped in local lore, and none of it is good. Apparently, a cult once used this maze of sewer passages to hold all sorts of rituals and sacrifices. This makes a YouTuber named The Fam want to explore the area with his friends, though now I'm sure he wishes he hadn't. Everything starts out fine at first, but soon the Fam claims to feel more and more sick as he draws closer to the infamous altar room, which is where most of the sacrifices were supposedly made. Something makes him have a panic attack, and he claims to have felt ill for a long time after making this video. It's impossible to tell if he really is being affected by spirits, or if he simply contracts a sickness from being in the sewer, or if it's his nerves getting the better of him. I'll let you decide for yourself. Here's a clip of him at the beginning of the video.
Alright guys, I'm gonna keep on going. I gotta see if we can find this altar room. I'm not looking forward to finding it really.
Feeling normal. And here's his reaction after discovering the sacrificial altar room.
I'm having a panic attack. You're having I did a couple minutes ago.
Do you think he really is getting sick from being in the presence of pure evil? Is something living in this underground train station? Posted on the r/ghosts subreddit by Ben Taylor. The scary video shows the behind the scenes nature of the underground at Crewe Station in the UK. As the redditor and his friend walk through the station, mysterious haunting noises echo through the underground, like a creature is roaring or wailing, like an animal. The roaring repeats over and over. The boys walk through a fenced-in area and the sound gets louder, but its source isn't any more apparent.
It stopped. Do you not hear it stop?
Yeah.
The sound repeats and then changes a little, causing the cameraman to turn around and hightail it out of there. It stops for a moment but then continues again as they decide to retreat.
Come on, I'm going because we've got to do tracks anyway.
The Redditor writes, the area was checked for dogs, animals, and even an injured security guard by transport police, as the noise was causing the staff to stay away from the area. No dogs, no humans, no pipes were there for the dog to stick its nose in. A howl down and security informed us nothing was found the next day, but the noise returned the next night. One Redditor in the comments, Nululus, says it might be a small deer species that's an invasive breed in the UK called the muntjac deer. Others still think it's an injured dog or a piece of machinery, but the Redditor seems to lean toward the paranormal, as he says other employees have heard strange noises and seen unexplained objects moving. We could make theories all day, but it's only the Redditor and his co-workers who witnessed it in person. So if they're saying it's paranormal, I think that explanation makes the most sense to me. Another momentous visual history caught on live TV. The powerful image of the toppling of the Saddam statue in Firdos Square was broadcast all over the world, signaling what the Bush administration hoped would appear to be the end of what he started. Mission accomplished, only their involvement went on until December 18th, 2011, so not quite accomplished at that point. The moment was one of the scariest and most powerful caught on live TV. Iraqi civilians, some of whom theorists believe were paid, and US troops came together to tackle the imperialistic statue, marking what was supposed to be a symbolic moment in the lives of many Iraqi citizens. On international TV, it looked to be a moment of spontaneity. As it turns out, it wasn't as it seemed. According to investigations on the matter, tight focus shots used by the media suggested that the square was packed, when it wasn't. Most in the crowd were also not Iraqi, but rather Marines and journalists. Moreover, the flag and sledgehammer were supplied by the US. The act was not as spontaneous as it was reported. The footage suggested that all of Baghdad was enthusiastic of the toppling of Saddam, but this suggestion was inaccurate. According to Peter Mass, a journalist who was at Firdos Square on the day, they were ready to latch onto a symbol of what they believed would be a joyous finale. It was an unfortunate fusion, a preconception of what would happen, of what victory would look like, connected at Firdos Square with an aesthetically perfect representation of that preconception. Despite the illusionary nature of this event, this scary and iconoclastic visual is one of the most impactful caught on live TV. Tim Morozov, or Tim Frost in English, is a Russian YouTuber who goes into places that spirits want him to stay out of. This time he has his eyes on an entire village that's been evacuated due to the presence of something mysterious, something neither you nor I can see. He picks the creepiest, most haunted looking cabin of them all, and unlike most ghost hunters, sets up high quality lighting to catch every last detail. It isn't long before Tim Frost thinks he sees a mist floating before his very eyes, but to be honest, I don't see anything.
What?
That mirror, on the other hand, is hard to miss. Tim takes it off the wall and is busy inspecting it with what sounds like beads falling off a necklace hit the floor from behind. If this is fake, then someone must have climbed the cabin and poured something onto the roof to create this sound, but that still doesn't explain what happens next. a ghost brushes by and hits the microphone of his camera at 12 minutes and 3 seconds. The mic moves by itself and everything, or maybe Tim's just slightly shaking it to create the illusion of movement. Then his light short circuits, unless, that is, he hits the strobe effect and then turns it off himself. Tim Frost knows that he has to explore the entire cabin, and that includes the basement. He takes the freaky mirror down there with him and starts snapping pictures with an old Polaroid camera for evidence. That's when a brick falls near him. There's a good chance he placed it there himself, because this ledge is an odd place for a brick to just so happen to be perched upon. But right as I say, I notice an orb fly over the brick right as it falls. So now I'm back to thinking it could be real and paranormal. Tim Frost unfortunately gets chased out by locals before he can gather much more evidence. He returns on a different day and selects another cabin. This one happens to still have power, which is odd, but I guess the electrical company could have made a mistake and not switched it off yet. Anyway, at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, he records a strange flickering white light against the wall. It stays with him for more than a minute, but then, at 6 minutes and 10 seconds, it goes away, almost like it goes into the next room, and then this happens.
Блин, что-то голова раскалывается, на самом деле. На спичке вроде все в порядке.
Suddenly, the lights go out and Tim finds himself alone in the dark, or so he thinks.
Как упали тарелки.
He uses an EMF meter to track something moving around with him, and when he hones in on its exact position, his lights start messing up. Also, an eerie mist is visible around his flashlight, but maybe it's dust. He follows the EMF meter up to an attic. His flashlight is flickering badly now, even though it was a solid beam only minutes before. What he hears next is not fake in my opinion. Too light to be a person, and yet all too near. In fact, it sounded like it was this door. But when he looks inside for himself, nothing is there. And get this, the flashlight of his camera is not the last of his lighting problems that night. When he set up his professional studio lights that he's never had a problem with before, they can't seem to stay on either. I would say that this was from faulty wiring with the cabin, but I think this light is running on its own battery and isn't plugged in at all. A British YouTuber named Joe Weller learns from his friend Elliot of a haunted schoolhouse nearby that was built in the 1800s. They agree to go in the middle of the night to make it all the more legitimate and scary. This place is abandoned, and yet there's a black gap where the curtain's been particularly drawn back, just enough for someone to peek through, or maybe this is a shadow person leaning out. Joe wants to turn around before the sight of barbed wire, but Elliot convinces him to jump over and go inside. Someone must have really wanted to keep people out of here, or maybe it's to keep something contained within. They walk around the back way and ivy is creeping along the walls, so nobody lives here. But wait, someone's at the window, a pale ghost girl. While over a dozen people see her, can you? And when he shines his light on it, it's gone. Every culture has its own folklore, but the banana tree ghost of Asia is particularly creepy. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit. We've seen banana tree ghosts in the past, but this one is extra spooky. Alien Angel writes, "Ghost girl crying in a banana tree patch. It is unbelievable what happens towards the end. Traditionally, the ghost hides out in wild banana trees and is with a green complexion, full black hair, and bright red lips. She remains incognito there until full moon drives her out of the darkness, which is when she is made visible at night. Often she is seen standing without touching the ground. Her lower half is represented as not solid, but wispy, like an extension from the trunk of the tree itself. Apart from the tree's fruits being inedible, many don't grow this type of banana tree in their compounds or homes because of their haunted nature. This is also why if you cut a banana tree from the clump in Thailand, it's seen as a bad omen, while the witch is believed to be for the most part a good witch, even going so far as to offer food to Buddhist monks who pass her by. With this bit of background, take a look at this video. The Wailing Witch is clearly visible in this banana tree, her long black hair and light green shirt seen amongst the giant banana leaves. What isn't clear is why she's crying like this, or is that crying coming from the person viewing the witch? Is it a cry of fear? The viewer doesn't have to be afraid for long, as the witch soon vanishes, flashing up out of the tree and out of sight. While some in the comments say this is surely a witch, others aren't so sure. Redditor Pete318 shares his own personal view, writing, "There are some areas where spirit people congregate, and you can tell these areas by several things you feel when near them. Whether you believe in the haunting of nature or not, this video is proof that there are some things out there that will forever remain a mystery." While some orbs do indeed appear like nothing but floating dust, others act more strangely. Published to YouTube by Ryan Blake in April 2020, he writes, "Caught this on our night vision camera at about 4 a.m. This is a very used basement, and there really isn't any dust down there, since my wife and I keep it very clean. Don't know what to make of it really." The series of videos shows orbs on several occasions sweeping past the camera. The first one flies from the upper left corner down to the bottom right. The second up the right side of the screen. The third briefly appears after the YouTuber shuts the door at the end of the hallway to go to bed, and the fourth flies up to the right and then back down again, returning to the bottom left corner. Is this a case of bugs, dust, or other explainable events? Or could this be a spirit channeling these homeowners, attempting to be made known? If only we could ask the orbs what their motive is. Ruptured asphalt, a volcano of water, mud flooding an entire street. That's what happened in Ukraine's capital of Kiev in May of 2017, published by KVN. This incident occurred due to a 2-meter wide pipe breaking while work was being done on a water canal. The footage shows the very moment the volcano breaks through the asphalt, toppling over garbage cans and gently nudging the cars in its path out of the way. Another camera angle captures just how high the mud reached. According to reports, the mud slushy hit all the way up to the 7th floor of a building. Miraculously, no one was harmed in the event, but some of these cars definitely needed a few runs through the car wash. K Sosa 37 posted this spooky video of her dog in 2017. In the description of the video, she wrote, "They always say animals can see spirits. My dog was barking at nothing in the room. She wasn't looking at the TV screen, and you can see her move her head suddenly at the 9-second mark. At first, it appears as though the dog is perhaps barking at her own reflection in the television in front of her, but it becomes clear that the dog is looking at something to the right of the TV. And then, as the YouTuber noted, the dog jerks its head suddenly and jumps up, looking above the television. She starts growling and barking more as she gazes upwards. The camera scans where she is looking off to the side of the room, and there's absolutely nothing there. The dog then gets up from its seated position, continuing to growl and bark and looking still at a spot to the right of the TV. The dog is acting aggressively and defensively, and although her owner remains calm and asks the dog what's wrong, Only she seems to know that something is very wrong. What is she seeing in the void? Up a long forest mountain path is an abandoned house near the Chinese city of Chengdu that is said to be haunted. An explorer named the Sneezing Monkey travels to the fabled house to see if anything paranormal is there. There's not much left inside, but he does find an old book that he seems particularly interested in. At 2 minutes and 6 seconds, it almost looks like it gets slapped out of his hands by a possible ghost, but he could have dropped it too. Tell me what these pages say. For some reason, he seems to feel it's interesting enough to show the camera. Not much else happens, and just when I was doubting this house was haunted, I hear this. He's looking in some kind of fire pit or something and hears a noise. He looks up and hears it again coming from the attic. He doesn't stick around for long and wisely decides to leave. This TikTok user has no dancing or lip syncing, just a creepy room with whispering voices on the other end of a white door with no knob. The lack of a knob does not stop some force from opening and closing the door. The door is fully shut and you can even hear the latch unclick here. Finally, with absolutely no edits or cuts, the person recording gets up to reveal a small closet with just clothes inside. What presence is roaming around Donna Mary's house? Published by Chris L. Luna in April of 2022, the ghost hunter captures the spirit blowing onto the scene as a seance is being done. The spirit then directly falls over those present, including the seer.
Me guías por sendas de justicia, por amor a su nombre, amor a su nombre, aun si yo voy por valles tenebrosos.
A presence is again sensed in the background, in what is either a window or a mirror. Something again passes by a window. As they communicate with the ghost, this appearance is more clearly visible. Do you think this is Donna Mary herself, or is some darker evil present?
Observen. Se debe de mover a fuerzas. Solo hay uno allá enfrente. Solo hay uno allá enfrente.
This police cam footage was taken during a massive wildfire in Sonoma County, California in 2017. Officers are doing what they can to evacuate the public and restore order, but as this brief dash cam video shows, they were up against total chaos at the time.
I dispatched someone from the fire department and here I dispatched by accident. He said he is unaware of which way the fire is going. They have so many fires, they can't really keep track at this point, and they also cannot get through.
Listen closely and you'll even hear the dispatcher say that they can't tell which direction the fire is spreading and seems to be genuinely overwhelmed. I have to salute this officer and all of the other brave public officials who willingly charged into a massive blaze to try and help everyone. A YouTube channel called Kiwi in Japan has the creepy encounter of a lifetime that leaves everyone screaming with fear and excitement in the kitchen.
Oh, that is freaky. That is so scary. Oh, yuck.
With a bowl in one hand and a piece of paper in the other, he hatches a plan to cover the spider and slip the paper underneath to contain it. It doesn't end well.
You ready? Ah! Oh, sorry. Okay.
What is it?
At 1 minute and 14 seconds, the spider literally jumps out of the way and almost lands on his arm. He's wearing no gloves and a short sleeve shirt when it happens, meaning he's completely vulnerable. Fortunately, it's more interested in finding shelter than battling back. It's fast enough to evade him 3 more times, but with legs that long, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. After a final showdown in the closet, he apprehends the arachnid and sends it back on its way to nature with a final toss. I bet they're really glad to have gotten rid of it. I don't think I could still live someplace where I saw a spider take up a whole entire room of a corner before. At least not until it was taken out of the house, and I'm definitely not sure if I would have been brave enough to try and capture it. Talk about scary stuff. What would you do if you saw this floating over your neighborhood? Shared by YouTuber EXTV, this video is trending in the Brazilian-speaking YouTube community. It looks like a scene straight out of Netflix's Stranger Things. In fact, it is. But it's not what it seems. When I dug into its origins, I found the freaky floating figure featured on CBS Chicago's news channel. But how did they get her to float? The TikToker @HorrorProps, who's responsible for the epic Halloween display, just shared how they did it only days ago. It appears to be a wire connected to a telephone pole. Well, I gotta say, that is certainly a crafty way to pull off something like this. Nevertheless, if I saw this while walking down the street, I would still be terrified. Epoch Paranormal is the YouTube channel of paranormal investigator Joseph Sturgill, a veteran of the YouTube paranormal community. He started uploading in late 2009. During his investigation of West Virginia Penitentiary, Sturgill managed to capture a terrifying piece of evidence. In the short video, Sturgill explains he had a constant feeling something was behind him, even though nothing was. It was during a joint investigation, but he says it wasn't any of the other investigators he felt. During the walkthrough and prior to the incident, Sturgill documents some disturbing graffiti on the wall in one of the cells. While the messages were clearly made long after the prison was shut down, and rather recent judging by the good condition, the words still send shivers up one's spine. Sweet lips lie wife, mine 3 feet under the kicker reads 1, accompanied by 3 stick figures. 2 are laying on the ground labeled Josh and Alex, while the third, positioned in the middle, is hanging from the ceiling, labeled Dave. Below these is written, "I'll be back," clearly referencing the hauntings occurring in the building. While it is likely the names written on there are the actual perpetrators of the graffiti, and is likely a simple sick joke, it does enhance the chilling atmosphere of the location. Another creepy message in a different cell reads, "Doing time is a blessing, unless you're sick as a dog and do some confessing," with a rather impressive skull drawing above it. It's enough to make you wonder what drives people to write such messages. Writings on the wall aside, the main feature of the video happens just after the 3-minute mark. Sturgill turns around to face the way he just came and spots what appears to be a tall figure standing in the doorway.
It looked like there was a person there.
He even comments about it, and it looks as if whatever was there moves to the left of the door frame, out of sight. While it is hard to see, the apparition has distinguishable features, including visible arms and legs, while its head is obscured by the top of the frame. Sturgill briefly focuses back on the cell he is in front of before turning the camera back towards the end of the hall. When he pans back, the figure is gone, and the doorway looks unlike what it did before. Nothing looks obscured, and his light goes right through this time. Could this be what was following him the entire time? In any haunted location, it is difficult to determine the type of ghost one could be dealing with. Is it friendly, malevolent, neutral, scared? In a prison, the motivations of those left behind can be even more difficult. Imagine all the different personalities who resided there when it was open. Thieves, life takers, petty crooks, innocent as well as guilty. Thankfully for Sturgill, it appears on this occasion whatever was following him was nothing more than curious as to who is visiting the prison. Hopefully all future guests only experience the same entity and not something more vicious. A YouTuber named GDude26 is absolutely sure that his basement is haunted. He says that something just feels wrong when he is down there, and that he and his mother have both heard footsteps coming from the basement all of the time. Both of them understandably want to know what is going on in their own home, so they set up a motion-activated camera downstairs. This camera will even send a video to his mom's phone as soon as it detects something. That way they'll know right away. This is what was sent to their phone at 5:13 in the morning shortly thereafter. Look closely, and you'll see a strange streak of light move across the camera multiple times. G-Dude 26 and his family are sure it's paranormal, and I think it could be too. Then again, I guess it could also be a bug or something like that, but my question is, would a small bug be enough to trip the camera? I mean, it doesn't land on the sensor or anything like that. If you know enough about motion sensors to tell me if a bug could set one off just by flying by, then please let me know. Maybe we could get to the bottom of this one together. A photographer is under a bridge when he records what he calls a strange creature. Confused, he goes over to the spot and the mysterious figure is nowhere to be found. This supposedly unexplained sighting looks pretty good at first and had some people freaking out. With that said, once zoomed in, this video appears to be an up-close encounter of the CGI kind, because the creature's feet hardly seem to touch the ground as it walks. Though if this was real and you saw it, what do you think you would do? This security guard wasn't expecting to guard the shopping mall against evil spirits. Published by the Hidden Underbelly 2.0 in April of 2019, this security footage was captured at Galerías La Paz in Mexico. The Galerías has a dark history of animal and human sacrifices. It's reputed to be haunted by everything from spectral children to the lady in white. These security guards witnessed the latter. In the video, you can see the lady walking down the mall's corridor. A security guard passes right by her but doesn't seem to notice her at all. The lady appears solid but then vanishes into thin air. The uploader writes, he didn't notice anything unusual, but it was only when he finished his rounds and was back in the surveillance room that his partner asked if he had seen the woman in white. The security guard said that he passed no one, but when they watched the CCTV footage back, they couldn't deny it. Is it La Llorona? If so, this guard is lucky he didn't drown. Caden Parker meets up with some friends at a local skate park and finds someone much older trying to pick arguments with everyone he sees.
Big man! Who's big man? You, right? I'm going for a sleeper.
Dude, come on. Can you just leave us alone? We're just trying to have a good time, enjoying the nice weather.
Who cares? I'm going for a sleeper.
Soon he turns his attention towards Caden and tells him he's going to put him in a submission hold if he comes down from the ramp. By now the skate park has mostly cleared out, so it's just a face-off between Caden and this angry stranger.
Dude, the police are on their way. I hope you know that.
I hope so.
We have a
I didn't assault
individual at the
skate park,
and he's kind of picked fights with little kids.
All right then. Might as well make it worth it.
Yo, tell him to send an officer ASAP.
An officer shows up right before things get any more out of hand. I really don't think this is a fake video, because the officer walks up and puts him in cuffs straight away. Apparently, he has a long history of doing this and nobody seems to be acting. After he's taken away, the park fills back up with people who are scared away. Caden Parker shows a lot of bravery standing up for them, as well as self-restraint by not stepping forward when challenged. Had this escalated, he could be in as much trouble as the person who is actually in the wrong. He did everything right in my opinion, and is allowed to enjoy the rest of his day peacefully as a result. Thank you so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you.